What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about some of the biggest developments that have happened in the economy and really in the world over the last week. There has been hundreds of billions of dollars in proposed spending bills over the last week, and there's also been some pretty significant news as far as global tax. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down all of the latest updates, and we're going to be breaking down what it means for you. So let's get started. So let's first start out with a spending bill that is set to pass any day now. In fact, as I'm recording this video, it is Tuesday, but as this video is published, which will be Wednesday afternoon, this bill could possibly have already passed in between that period of time. But this is a $247 billion spending bill with an emphasis on research and development, technology, and industrial-focused endeavors. Now, this bill is being dubbed the China Bill by a number of different lawmakers as well as a number of different news organizations because of the fact that this bill is being used to help advance the United States and make us more competitive against China specifically when it comes to things like artificial intelligence, like technology, industrials, and more. Now, if this bill passes, and it is expected that it will pass because as of right now, it is considered to be a bipartisan bill. It has supports from not only President Joe Biden, but also Republicans and also Democrats as well. So it is bipartisan, and because of that, it is expected to pass at some point very, very soon, if it hasn't already by the time this video is published. Now, this bill is the biggest industrials bill that the United States has ever seen in the history of the country. Now, on the surface, this is an industrial bill to go towards technology, to go towards artificial intelligence, but the way that this is actually being pitched for lawmakers is that it's actually a jobs plan, and it's a bill that will help create new jobs for the American economy because of the fact that the US government will invest money into research and development for different types of technology. Then from there, private companies can take that R&D, they can then use that information that the United States helped gather, and then they can use that in order to create new jobs in the field that this bill funded. So this is kind of a all-encompassing plan that is not only supposed to help the United States with technology and R&D and developing new technology, it's also supposed to help the United States be more competitive with China and overtake China in regards to all things technology, production, and industrials, but then it's also supposed to help create new jobs at the same time as well. Now, again, like I said, at this point in time, this bill is going to pass. It's just a matter of when, and the bill pretty much is in its final form. Now, again, like I mentioned earlier, this is a $247 billion China industrial bill. It has been negotiated, it has been agreed upon, and as of right now, we are simply just waiting for it to pass, and that is expected to happen any day now. Number two is a pretty big deal because of the fact that this is in regards to taxes. Now, as you guys know, President Joe Biden has always said, or at least throughout his election cycle and throughout his presidency thus far, he has stated the importance of implementing some sort of corporate tax for corporations that are based in America, that these corporations need to pay their fair share. Now, this is something I've talked about on this channel, and it's something that is oftentimes discussed in the media, on social media, just pretty much everywhere. The fact is, and it's really no secret, that there are a lot of corporations out there that are valued at billions, if not trillions of dollars, and yet they still do not pay a significant portion, if any portion, of their income to taxes. Now, this is something that, of course, President Joe Biden has put a pretty big emphasis on, especially with the American Families Plan and the American Jobs Plan, but it's something that a lot of world leaders and a lot of countries have also put emphasis on as well. And that brings us to this newest tax proposal. Over the weekend, G7 financial leaders met to discuss a global corporate tax. Now, the G7 leaders include representatives from the UK, the US, Canada, Japan, Germany, France, and Italy. Janet Yellen, for example, was the representative that went on behalf of the United States. And really what the purpose of this meeting was to implement or at least make progress on some sort of global corporate tax. And that is exactly what ended up happening. As of right now, it looks as though there will be some sort of global corporate tax implemented of 15%. Now, the purpose of a global corporate tax is to try to prevent, or at least try to close, the loopholes that countries use in order to avoid paying taxes. For example, I'm sure that you've heard of the term tax havens, and basically what this is it's whenever companies or entrepreneurs or very wealthy people will put their ventures into like different locations in different countries around the world in order to avoid paying taxes. So a really oversimplified example would be like a company that's located in California, and instead of having their headquarters being California, they locate it in a different country with lower tax rates, and as a result, they're able to avoid paying US taxes. Like I said, this is of course a very overgeneralized, oversimplified example, but this is something that a lot of companies, a lot of wealthy individuals, a lot of entrepreneurs really do in order to avoid taxes. Now, as of right now, the exact way that this 15% global corporate tax will work isn't exactly laid out. Like, there's still questions that need to be answered. There's still a really hard defined plan that needs to be laid out. As of right now, it looks as though this 15% global corporate tax will be placed on companies with a 10% profit margin or more. Now, this is something that I think could end up changing because there's a lot of arguments that some of the biggest companies in the world don't even have a 10% profit margin. And the companies that do have a 10% profit margin or higher probably can adjust their operations in order to not have a 10% profit margin or higher. So I would be willing to bet that that threshold will change. But as of right now, that is something that is being considered. In addition to having some sort of profit margin threshold, this global corporate tax will also be based off of where a company does their business rather than where a company is located and where their headquarters is located. So again, to the example that I laid out earlier, if you were to have a company that was based out of California, but they had their headquarters somewhere else in the world in order to minimize or avoid taxes altogether, but they still operated 100% in the United States or the majority in the United States, that would no longer fly. It would instead be based off of their operations and where they are doing their operations rather than where they are technically located for their headquarters. Now again, there still is a lot that needs to be worked out for this, and this is of course not set in stone. This is something that will probably be a work in progress for the rest of the year, if not far into 2022 as well, but it is something that does look as though it's going to happen. And again, the purpose of this is to make it so that tax loopholes are closed, that corporations can no longer rely on tax havens in order to reduce their tax bill, and that, as President Joe Biden states it, to make it so that corporations pay their fair share. The next item on the list is a $547 billion spending bill, which was introduced by Democrats a few days ago. This is an infrastructure bill, and it overlaps with some of the different ventures that are being pursued in the American Jobs Plan, but it is of course smaller than the American Jobs Plan, and I would argue that it's more targeted than the American Jobs Plan as well. But in this $547 billion spending bill, there is $343 billion being allocated to road and bridge construction, $109 billion being allocated to transit, $95 billion being allocated to rail, including an Amtrak train. And there's going to be a big emphasis with this bill on having this infrastructure be environmentally conscious and environmentally friendly. So the whole point and kind of the whole focus with the Democratic Party when it comes to these infrastructure spending bills is not just infrastructure, but it's clean energy infrastructure, or at the very least, clean energy leaning infrastructure. Now, this bill did get some pushback with Republicans, especially because of the fact that Democrats and Republicans are currently in the midst of negotiating the American Jobs Plan, which is the $2 trillion infrastructure bill that was introduced in March. Now, in my opinion, I don't really think that this $547 billion spending bill is going to get that far because of the fact that we already have the American Jobs Plan, which is an infrastructure spending bill that is currently being negotiated, and the focus with lawmakers really is on that plan, and I don't see that shifting anytime soon to this new one. And if the American Jobs Plan passes, I certainly don't see lawmakers passing another $547 billion bill shortly after. I really do think it's going to be one or the other, and I don't see it being this one that was recently introduced. Now, with it being said, you guys, these are kind of the three biggest stories of the week. There isn't a ton of stimulus news this week because of the fact that, the EIDL grant is opening back up, but we don't exactly know when that's going to happen. And until that does happen, and until we get some more information from the SBA, there really isn't any new information to give. The PPP is over, and so of course there isn't any new information for that either. And the child tax credit is being distributed starting next month, but until the two portals from the IRS open up, there really isn't a whole lot to report for that either. So these are the biggest updates that we have as of right now. There is a lot in the works, which that means we will have a busy summer ahead of us. Now, with it being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you found it informative. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.